There is emerging on the face of the earth a new human, an infinite human, and that infinite human is you. Join Elizabeth Monroy weekly for enlightening discussions, multidimensional journeys, profound meditations, and empowering visualizations as we co-create the new consciousness renaissance together with other blossoming infinite human beings who are shifting the old paradigms of our broken, fragmented, finite 3D Earth and alchemizing it into a more expansive, unified, loving, infinite reality by reclaiming their true divine, infinite power within as the co-creators of the new infinite Earth. Join us weekly for the Infinite Human Talk Show, hosted by Elizabeth Monroy.
Hello, my divine, infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And we're with one of the most esteemed guests that I have in my wonderful, I want to say collection, but my gathering of infinite human speakers here. And one of my favorites, David Emery, is here today. And we're going to talk a little bit about his forthcoming book. I just call it Beyond Biblical, but it seems like there's a longer new title. So, David, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and then the book, how it came about, and what's the name of it now?
Yeah. I originally had the idea of it as Beyond the Biblical, because look, the fact is that I've come to join you a bit latterly, really. For many years, I just sat and studied and read and did my own writing, and I was talking to myself, really. That's all I was doing. And then people started to ask me more and more questions, and I was asked to talk more about different things and to write other things. And so then I found myself writing a book, and I thought, what's the best way to write about the true history of not just the Earth, but also our universe and the whole of the cosmos? I thought, why not I just talk about everything? So I realized that a lot of our history is based on the Bible. And I thought, well, actually, it's not just biblical, our history, it's beyond that. So I started to write about beyond the biblical. But then after I'd been talking for a couple of years with different people, as Elizabeth knows more than almost anyone, there was a fail-safe mechanism which was introduced to rescue the whole of our universe, basically, to cut a long story short. And that involved actually bypassing what we call the stairway to heaven. The stairway to heaven is the one track at a time ascension process that each one of us was originally meant to make, one universe at a time, and slowly ascend our way back up the stairway to heaven, back to heaven. But of course, because of all the distortions that have happened, and that's what my book is really about, the cosmic history. Because of all those distortions, that stairway, that one track at a time stairway, got pretty much eliminated. So we had to do an evac. It's sort of like an evacuation process. And somebody was asking me in a talk, well, what sort of an evacuation is this then? I mean, I said, well, it's sort of like a slingshot. It's a slingshot evacuation to bypass a lot of the stairway and rejoin the original pathway back, our original heroic pathway, back into who we truly are, which is back in God's source. And so the slingshot phrase stuck. And the people who are helping me, thank goodness they're helping me, because I'm not very good at business. They're helping me to publish the book. They said, why don't you add that as the part of the title? So they called it The Slingshot Evacuation, Beyond the Biblical and the Universe of You. So that's how the title got changed, Elizabeth.
Okay, well, I want to get into that in great detail. But before we do, let's just, what have you been up to? You've been all around. You mentioned a little bit before when we first got together, but I guess you, you just kind of like, and me too, you kind of like came out just recently of the spiritual closet, because I think you answered a call and a contract to definitely be a light of beacon of information and a role model in this times of great change. So thank you for responding to that call. And now you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. I think did you tour when you were back in England before you came to the States? Because you're coming to me from the States. David's in the States now. But did you tour with Sasha Stone a little bit around with his tour?
No, really, I didn't.
Okay.
Sasha asked me 3 years ago to appear on one of his programs, and that was a very nerve-wracking experience because I'd not done anything like that for 30 years. I had been a teacher and a speaker long ago,
Okay.
but as I've explained, I really shut myself off, and I was just doing my own thing. And as a result of being invited by Sasha to come and talk about the true history of the cosmos,
he's done some beautiful work with that. Some wonderful videos, definitely worth checking out.
So that's how really I ended up being asked to come to America. I was quite happy sitting at home just writing away, and then I was summoned to America about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and I'm very grateful because it's expanded my horizons considerably.
Keep your hands still.
Okay.
And sit closer because we don't want to get back noise. Okay. Okay. And then you've hooked up with Jane Evershed too, and you're doing a lot of really good grounded explanations of Kelonic science and what we've been talking about now, the Crystal River Failsafe program, and explaining these high-minded concepts, advanced metaphysics. So you have a lot of those out that are on, I think she's kind of on her YouTube channel. Those are around, right?
Yeah, well, I was on a program with Jane about a year ago, and I was very impressed with what she spoke about art and how the hybrid elites have used art as a mechanism to distort our own imaging and how we think of things and what our view of beauty is and of joy, etc. And I was very impressed with her very intense journalistic approach to studying the art. And so I wrote to her and said I thought I enjoyed being with her, and thank you very much. And so we established a fraternity like that, and she got involved with Kilonta through me, and of course we blended our work together, and that's how that actually happened. But in fact, I would have to say that Elizabeth, you and many other people out there like Ian Parks and well, there's so many I could mention, Paul Sarfarazi, and you have been pioneers in expressing the importance of the Kelonta and of all those different ideas about our true angelic heritage. So really, I've been flying on the coattails of all of you, really, and I've learned a great deal. And your book, The Infinite Human, was a pivotal, important book for me to read, because it made me realize that there are other people out there who have been through the same sort of memories that I have had, and yours have been very vibrant, and you taught me a lot. So thank you for that, Elizabeth.
Well, it's interesting because our stories are very parallel, because I too, I've been a student of colonic science, I realize now, for almost 10 years. And just as soon as I heard it, well, first of all, it was just really, I wanted to find out where Peter was, because he kept talking to me and kept wanting me to understand things that in places he took me that I couldn't put into any context. So, he kept leading me to certain people and works, of course, of Asciano's works, but, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And still, I'm doing my best to learn all the freedom teachings because they're not readily available, but I just got someone that gave me all the downloads of them. So I go through them all, daily. And then I follow the recent stuff that she's doing, which is, I think, for those who have different contracts. I don't really divide or, the different groups, but I have this very strong feeling right now. It's just urging me that we need to become the speakers. You know, we need to speak out. We need to embody these teachings and express them in our own unique ways. And that's why we had Akwashi last time. For example, he puts all those into his new songs that he writes, you know, and he calls it Akwashi because it's the Adashi cycle and from the Aquinas, you know, matrix. And then, you know, of course, Amma Soul is just the embodiment of love and compassion for all, especially her animals. And it's so symbolic. So I like to try to bring people, and you are an embodiment because, as I said before, you're almost an ambassador. So I don't know if you got my message, but I had a dream. And, you know, I've been having, you know, with all these downloads, so vivid prophetic dreams. You know, I'll tell people I had a dream and they're like, I told Jesse Howe, for example, that I had a dream that he was going to start a New Earth community in the Caribbean. And he said, yes, we're working on that right now.
Wow. So, that's amazing.
I do that. And I had a dream that I was in like Nevada or something, and I was trying to get to the David Emery Center for Enlightenment.
Wow.
It was so weird. I mean, it was so real. It's like, where is it? Well, which, you know, I was like trying to figure it out on the map or something, or GPS. But so, you know, we all have very powerful roles right now. And I think, one, I do believe in preserving these teachings in their integrity to the best of our ability. And I really admire there are so many people that is their contract, to maintain the integrity of these teachings and to share them. And I, you know, love that. And I always pay respects to Ashiana, all the work she's done, you know, but at the same time, I think we're moving to the time where we need to totally like become these teachings, you know, and become the 12 virtues and become, you know, the voice of the guardians, because we are guardians. We are the guardians, and we might have, that's our family. That's a higher aspect of ourselves. And we need to be the guardians here on earth, moving and breathing and fulfilling our contracts through our soul mission. So that's what I'm so proud of you, because you've had the courage to speak out, because, you know, it's kind of hard. It's like a child that leaves, you know, the family, and they start talking, and then the rest of the family members might be like, well, no, they didn't say that right. That's not the way mom told the story, or that's not the way mom made the you know, turkey dinner, you know, and I understand the preservation of it, but we also need to, you know, get out and express it. And we make mistakes. We don't know everything. We're learning. So, and that's why I encourage anyone who has the courage to come on my talk show, because I've asked a lot of people, and I know they don't feel comfortable speaking, and it takes a lot of courage, but it's part of just opening up that flow, because we are now, I believe we are all the speakers, because I believe that the first contract was fulfilled in 2012. And thank God it was fulfilled, because we wouldn't be able to have fail-safe if they hadn't have done all the grid work and maintained, you know, and if we hadn't worked with the sphere of Amenti, and if we hadn't maintained our earth in together enough to have fail-safe take, because it almost didn't take. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, yes, we came give me we came within milliseconds of oblivion and being sucked into a phantom matrix, a subtime distortion cycle. So it was a very close run thing, Elizabeth. But
and so just kudos, and we all need to just be so grateful for all those souls who responded to the call, who did all this work of 12 years of work for us to be able to be in this beautiful position we're in. So.
I totally agree. Yes, we stand on the shoulders of so many people who've gone before us, but we're all of the same tribe. That's the interesting thing. You mentioned about us being guardians, and we're also protectors, and we're also healers. So that was our contract, was to help the reclamation of souls by being guardians, protectors, and healers, not just of the Earth, our planetary system here, but of our whole local universe, of course, because there's so many of us. And it's interesting and fascinating, you just talking there about us all being the speakers, because something is really fascinating about what has happened. As you know, way back in hundreds of thousands of years, there have been speakers who have endeavored to tell the truth about our cosmic science, our cosmic history, our purpose and our mission, our healing, all of these things. And these speakers were deliberately hunted, tracked down, got rid of, eliminated, and their words either trashed or distorted deliberately to be put into other religious texts, so that we would the whole of the human life field would be confused. This has been going on persistently. Every time that there have been some speakers, they have been hunted down and stopped. In fact, you and I have been involved with many speakers in the past, Elizabeth. And I was involved in 10,400 BC with the Yu speakers of the Yu dynasty in China, and some other dynasties, those in some in Africa. I wasn't a speaker at those times, but I was an associate helper. And we've come back here to be here now.
I remember you.
Yes, we've come back here to assist. And so your words here about saying we are all speakers, this is what's happening, Elizabeth. And it's wonderful, because all over the world, people are retelling the Galactic sciences. They're telling the story of who we really are. And it can't be stopped, because you can't hunt down, a million speakers. Not anymore. Those times are over when you could hunt down one speaker or two or three. Now there are millions of us, and our words will be heard.
Yes. Oh, God, I love that. Thank you so much, David. And, I was saying last week, I really thought there was a point where I thought things were going to really go in one direction. And I just wanted to buy some land, get some people together, and kind of hold the frequencies and just let everything go to hell. Well, a good thing is, I think there's enough of us that are shifting that reality. And I believe right now we are beginning the new consciousness renaissance. And ironically, because I used to always talk about, don't surf the net, surf the infinite, get out of the net. But I think it's going to happen in the net, which is why I have just contracted on many different levels to be much more a presence in cyberspace, in sacred cyberspace, I call it, because that's how are they going to silence all our voices if we're all, making music, making films, giving talk shows, doing, little videos, and we're emanating that frequencies, those frequencies, we're sharing those Krystic codes. And that's exactly what we're doing. That's the plan, and they can't censor that because, that's just love.
Well, yeah, I think what you just said there was so accurate. We're running frequency, and the frequency that we're running, which is all conjoined together now, there's so many of us, it is immensely powerful. It can't be stopped. And it's a question now of our direction of travel. There are a lot of us now in the same direction. We're slightly doing different things, but nevertheless, our direction of travel is the same. And so consequently, we're pulling the whole of our planetary systems in this whole local universe with us. This is why we're going as a super frequency event. Ascension on a universal scale, because Elizabeth, you and I and many, many others using our frequency to pull the whole of the universe together as one.
Yes, we are. And you said something earlier that I really liked, because I believe this, and I just first get what I believe, and then I look out there and see if there's something that supports it, especially in the Krystic teachings. And I, like I said, I really am, like you said, it's been squelched for so long. I'm so much about getting all of it out there to the best we can, and then seeing how it relates to you. But okay, two things. Let me do it. The first one, you talked about slingshot evacuation. And one of the things that just rubs me the wrong way, which I know, as you explained it, you're not saying that now, but a lot of people have been like, find the nearest Stargate, get your body out, evacuate Earth. And I understand, because there was a point when we needed to do that. But now, and I know for me, in my heart of hearts, there's a part of me that for 20 years, I just wanted to get the hell out of here. And I wanted to get back with Peter. It was like, I left my other half. I just, what am I doing here in this, and I was so upset and blah, 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 victimized, really in a bad mood for 20 years. But, I realized, hey, I'm here now. This is my job. My job is to make it in the here and now and help people, because we're actually bringing it all here now. And you talked, I think I've listened to one of your videos, which I believe we're bringing Gaia, Tara, Aurora Earth, Eartha, M3, whatever. It's all like assimilating in our, like, just like our Huva bodies, just like all the aspects of ourselves, our Krystic selves, our Avatar selves, our Rishi selves, they're all in the here and now, and they're all becoming whole or holy together. So I don't feel like it's something we have to leave, like beam me up, Scotty, or, get to the nearest Stargate, or, have the Galactic Federations take us off the planet, or, all that kind of nonsense. Do you concur?
Listen, Elizabeth, I resonate with everything you say. I know your energy and your passion are so powerful, but there's no question about it. I have always been connected with everything that you said, because we've been associated before quite a few times in the deep past. And so I can endorse entirely everything that you have just said about this super frequency ascension. Is really involving all of us. So there's you, there's me, there's all the people that you interview, there's Amma Soul and so on, but there's also Earth. So if there's Earth involved with us, then there's Tara. And if there's Tara involved with us, there's Gaia. And if there's Gaia, there's Aramatena. And we're all together as one. And this is the astonishing beauty of the whole thing. You can step with your bare feet out onto Earth, and you can just feel that she is with you as you are with her through the morphogenetic connection. And it's all wonderful. And that means that all the trees are, all the plants, the bugs, the birds, the bees, everything, every element, the rock crystals, the molecules of air, the ether, we're all together as one. And when you get that feeling coming through your veins, oh my goodness, you realize that everything that we're talking about, Elizabeth, is unstoppable. We are unstoppable. You are unstoppable. And all of us listening here together today, we're unstoppable in this astonishing universal ascension.
Yes. And oh gosh, just listening to you, or even me, the frequencies are so high right now. Since this last solar flare, really ejection, I can sense it. And what really resonates with me when you said the slingshot evac is evacuating us from all the old timelines that are crumbling, all the artificial timelines, all these experiences that were not real, into the one trua pathway. And I want to bring that to, because you keep talking about memories, and I was listening to you whenever you talk about the U Dynasty, I love films. Okay, so there's a great film by Frank Capra, I don't know if you ever saw it, called Lost Horizon. And it's all about Shangri-La. They find Shangri-La really like up in the mountains of Tibet. And there was a man who's like comes in, and he was very kind of Asian, and he's like, not to worry, don't wait for me, I eat very little. He was always so in it but not of it. And that's how you were. I see you back in that time frame with yours.
Well,
but so the point I'm making is that, when we think of history, we were taught in the classroom, these are dead men, or, women, or mostly men usually. And these dates we have to memorize, and they have nothing to do with us except these monuments and statues. Well, first of all, that was all wrong history. But these are our stories. These are our lives that we are going to remember. And it's so important to remember them so we don't repeat the same mistakes and we learn from them, right?
Well, absolutely. Now, do you remember we were going to, this is getting now personal, but you remember we were going to go on a cruise together. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
To Greece and Egypt and so on.
We wanted to.
Yeah. And that fell through for lots of different reasons, but there are no accidents, so it was designed.
It wasn't the time. It wasn't the divine time yet,
but the thing that
I see it.
The thing that I was looking forward to was actually, and we can still do this, is that I know you have the capacity through putting your hand on a wall, a rock wall, or a rock itself, and you can pick up the stories. So you were talking about the stories. So the stories are locked inside the particle base of everything. They never go away. And so I wanted to see you put your hand on a rock in Greece and tell me the story of the rock, because you see what you were talking about, the narratives that we all hold within our frequency and within ourselves. Everything has a story, and that's because we're all together as one. Yes, a rock is, the crystals are, particularly crystals. And
limestones hold such frequency, and that's why they built the temples out of them.
There you go. And so there are so many stories that we still have to learn because they're all beneath our feet. It's astonishing. But can I take a slight detour here?
Sure. Well, let me just say one thing about that, though. You know how you just had no idea that you would be getting on a plane and you'd be in America now? I'm American, you're in America, you know, and I'm in Italy, I'm in Europe, you know. How crazy is that? But I know, I just saw it already that we will be doing that, you know, and I do it all the time here in Sicily because I've got everything here. I've got Greece, Rome, I've got the early Iliani's temples here, you know, so it's going to happen. It's just, I always like I just work here. It'll happen when the moment's right. But that's why I got so excited about it, because I saw it already happening. So go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, there's not many people know this, but in fact, you're the first person I'm going to tell. I've written another book which is complete, and I haven't. A couple of people have listened to it on audio. It's a short book, and it's about my visits to the 8th dimension. And the reason I'm going to mention it now, because I hadn't considered doing so, is that I had a series of 6 visits to the 8th dimension, and I just described what happens there, and it's a magical place. The 8th dimension, of course, as you know, is the galactic center, and into which we all come as spiritual entities first, and then we disperse into the different realms.
I didn't know that.
So the 8th dimension is sort of like our entry point.
Well, but where is Eartha? What dimension is that in?
Well, we're going to Eartha 3, which is in the Akasha A levels of that's in a different Akasha, but Eartha 3 is a different aspect of Earth and Tara, etc. But the 8th dimension, of course, is Mintaka Orion. And,
Mintaka Orion. Okay, yeah. Yes. So okay, that's where we come through. Okay, that makes sense.
So I just wrote 6 stories.
Because I remember Peter staring up at it once and saying, "I came from there."
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Well, that is very interesting. So it's a beautiful place, and I explained some of the things that happened to me there, and it's wonderful.
Because I was like, no, because Orion also has some negative stuff going on there too. So I was like, not that, but now you make sense that it is beautiful. Mintaka is.
Well, Mintaka is, yeah. Orion has got some pretty diabolical beings there, but Mintaka is okay. The only slightly rogue element they have are aquatic apes, but they are very, very far away. So most of Mintaka is beautiful. But here's what I'm going to tell you, because I met some amazing people. I met my avatar self there, and I met some teachers who were praying mantises, Atheians.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They're permanently teachers in the universal realms, and they took me to the Amareya flame, and the Amareya flame, of course, is how our eternal source flows enter in through the Manu window and enter into all the lower domains. So they took me there, and then they told me, and this is the first time I've told anyone, that I was to write a 7th chapter, and this 7th chapter was about how the whole of our universe is joining hands together spiritually to be as one and to move into a new realm of the internal eternal worlds. So the 7th chapter of this book, which nobody's ever read, is to do with our super frequency universal ascension, Elizabeth, all together as one. And I've been told to write that chapter about how the whole universe goes together. So
now, when you say the whole universe, are you talking about our time matrix? Are you talking about the whole Akasha? Are you talking beyond our Akasha?
I'm talking about Earth, Tara, Gaia, and Aramatena all together.
Okay. Oh, that sounds fascinating. I can't wait to read it or hear it or however you. Are you writing it? Is it going to be a book or is it an audiobook? What?
I think that'll probably be an audio book. I've done the 6 chapters. I've just got to do the 7th, but I'm going to finish the Beyond the Biblical first, because I'm a man. I'm a bit one-dimensional. I can only do one thing at a time.
Well, I think that's the book that's kind of going to get you. Yeah. You kind of like for me, the foundation was The Infinite Human, but I've got 8 books up there now. So
yeah.
Okay, we're going to take just a short break, and we'll be right back with David Emery, and we're talking about not only his upcoming book, Slingshot, Beyond Biblical, and he's got another book that he's hidden up his sleeve, so that'll be coming out too soon. Okay. And we're back with David Emery, and gosh, he's got so many books now. I don't even know which one to talk about. But what I would like to do, I think the most important thing is, I just want to kind of lay this foundation, because I feel like part of my job is to like beam steer us, to the heroic path, and it always. You'll always hear me saying, whether we're talking about the Galactic Federation, which we talk, good aliens coming in, or the elections, or what's going on outside of you. And Akashi said, actually, what's going on outside of you is what draws your attention is something you want to know. So it's really going on inside of you, because you projected into your holographic reality. So, but as long as you always remember, it's always about you. How you respond to it, what you're supposed to learn from it. And, you are infinite source. And if you can identify, I got all these bugs coming out here. If you can identify always with the infinite part of you, the powerful part of you, and you don't get lost in the story, lost in the plot, then, that's something to remember, but don't put your power away. So when we're talking about these books, especially, the Beyond Biblical, these are us. So I think for me, as I learn and recall my other lifetimes, because there's no time, we call them past lives, but they're alternate identities. I begin to realize, and that's the psychotherapist in me from my family. My parents were both psychotherapists, but I begin to recognize patterns, and I'm always out there. I'm always, the martyr, getting burnt and getting stoned and, speaking out for my rights. And, that's a part I played, but, maybe it's not the best part for me to always play. Maybe we need to start healing, because that's a lot of wounds, especially the females have had a lot of trauma, so it helps to know this history and to know what role you played in it, and to recognize these patterns, and to put them. Sometimes we just have to put it down. We have to put the put down. I mean, I know I've done a lot of calling to speak out, but you need to know when. There's a time to speak out, and there's a time to just, okay.
I think Oscar Wilde said the purpose of history is to rewrite it.
Yes.
And one of the ways of rewriting it, of course, is to rewrite it with the truth of what's really gone down. And so when you're talking about your previous existences, which are still concurrently happening now, of course, it was very powerful. It was poignant and powerful, and I respect totally the things that you have experienced and that you have created in the whole of your spiritual personality, Elizabeth. It's been amazing. But the thing about all of these lifetimes that we can either remember or we can't remember, and slowly we are remembering them, is that they make you realize that there was a purpose. to all that you are, that you have a mission. Because quite often it's very easy in our reincarnated bodies. We just keep coming back here time after time after time. And it seems as though it's all accidental, that we are simply an accident of nature. We're lucky to be here and there's no purpose. What is the purpose? But you see, when you start connecting with all your previous lifetimes, and you start reading about the true history of humanity, what's really happened here, you realize that, of course, we do have a purpose. We have a mission. And when this connects with you in a personal level, it makes you realize, and I use this word advisedly, it makes you realize how important you are to everything, to the whole of the life field. And it's very easy in this world to think of yourself as not worthy, not very much. I made $1 million and I had a big palace and I became the world's greatest tiddlywinks player. But all of those things mean nothing really. It's a question of how you can join with the whole of the rest of your life field. And when you realize that you are a vital, unique, inestimably important part of all of that, you realize that you have a purpose. And that's what all of these lifetimes have been. And that's what the whole of the history of the angelic human is. It has a purpose. It has a mission. You are important. You're not just important, you're vital, you're unique. You bring something special. You bring something celestial, something divine into the grids of the whole of the universal planetary systems. You are required, and you are required here and now to be your true self. And that's why the whole of our story, Elizabeth, is always about one thing. It's about identity. It's about who you are. And when we finally step into the realization that we are actually God's source, then we realize that we have manifested ourselves into a realm where we can express that God source celestial divinity. And that is what we are truly about. And that's what brings us together. That's what makes us hold our hands together. We embrace together in that joyous, loving unity. And that is really why I'm writing the book.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, as you say your wise words, I'm reminded, actually, I was flashing through all my lifetimes and I was flashing back to when this whole, I guess you would almost call it the virus, the infection, the distortion occurred back in I guess and you probably can give me the dates, but we're talking like 960 billion years ago in the Borgia time matrix, but it was all the victimizer experiment, and it happened basically because of grief. And, a lot of times you think, well, that was, a long time ago, far, far away. But, we're all infinite, learning about itself. And I have meditated and contemplated that a lot. I meditate things in the quiet of the mountains up here. And I could really identify with it, because part of the hero's journey, part of what Joseph Campbell came up with, was that, through the journey, you at the end, you get through all your challenges, all the darkness, all the difficulties and the dark nights of the souls, you arrive with an elixir of life, with the reward, and you glean this truth. And it's not just intellectual, you glean it by living it. And we return back to source, infinite source, with this knowledge that we grow more from it. And for me, I was going through that in my mind. And first of all, grief. I had so many signs about being like Orpheus. I don't know if you know the myth of Orpheus, when he lost his twin soul. And just when I was in Florence, I was like in the deepest, darkest, and I would do this hero's journey with my students to create their films, and my students kept coming up with Orpheus, Orpheus, Orpheus. And I would stumble into this art exhibition of Orpheus, because basically I was the same way. I was like, without my twin soul, screw the world. I'm not going any further. That's it. Count me out, And so that was a big one, because that's what happened. That's really what caused the original distortion that infected our time matrix, because they lost that we could see almost like their children, the lower correct me if I'm wrong, the lower density, the lower dimensions of their time matrix, and they couldn't understand why they went to space dust. So they began this experiment because they realized they traced it to this victimizer mentality, this polarity that existed. So they thought in their wisdom that they could figure it out so it wouldn't happen again. And, created this experiment where half of them, there was a control group, part of them were victimizers, the others were victims. And it turned out that the first group that played the victimizers, and when they were victims and it was their time to do it again, they said, no more victim, and they became the victimizers. And then that's what began the whole, and the Borg were like on Star Trek, these are like, they got so deviated from the Krystic and from infinite source. So to make a long story short, I think, I've gone through a lot of my lifetimes being a victim and also a martyr, because really they're the same things. And it's this martyrdom. I just didn't care. I wanted to do what was right, and it was really kind of a martyrdom. And when I sorry. And I had a disability. I'll just say this. It was very powerful. I had a disability case that had been going on for 10 years. And every time I got before the judge, I was like, and Peter, didn't get his disability, and me, I've been attacked, and and I would like get up on my, and it would get revoked, and then I'd appeal it. And I was on my last appeal, 10 years. And the lawyer, a very savvy guy, kind of, lawyerish, but he said, do you want to be right or do you want to win? And I was like, I want to be right. And then I went, wait a minute, what am I doing? I've been right for 10 years. And so I said, okay. And I humbled myself and I followed his lead and I played the part and I won. And one day I went from $1 in my account, €1 in my account to 100,000. Because I shifted this karmic pattern of always, and my brothers know me. I mean, it's like, there goes Elizabeth again. She's going to get up there and get all. And so I'm just saying this because I think it's something that a lot of Krystic people have. We've been, our poo doesn't smell. We're so, holier than thou. And part of the rewriting now is that we need to win. We need to stop being victims. We need to become physically evolved, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially abundant, and socially. We need to be the victors and the winners and pave the way, for a beautiful new reality where everyone wins.
Well, I would agree totally with you that in that way, winning isn't everything; it's the result of everything, and everything is to do with how you view yourself. So you're quite right. I mean, I've been through feelings of victimization and unworthiness and martyrdom, and you name it, we've been it. Yeah. and ultimately, really, what we need to be is we need to be creators of ourselves. So we in creating ourselves the way we truly want us to be, that is how that we can win in the terms of. And
when I say win, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when I say win, I mean win-win. Everybody wins.
Yes.
There's no victims. There's no losers. Everybody wins.
Yes, because that sort of winning is the demonstration, the manifestation of how the world and the universe are supposed to operate in a celestial divine harmony. And that's really what we're talking about. So we have to harmonize within ourselves. And in doing so, we harmonize with the rest of the life field. And so what you've been saying here is pivotal. And your example in the courts of Italy, I guess, is very, very.
That was in the U.S. That was the American courts.
In the U.S. Okay, right. Well, I appreciate that because it was very apropos. It is really all about us and how we view ourselves ultimately in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what we're all doing right now. We're all rewriting our story, I think. So we're winning, and we're realizing, we're remembering how powerful we are, how angelic, how divine we are. And I think most of us are experiencing, like, some people are like been there, done it, bought the t-shirt and burnt it. They're just so sick of conflict. I'm just conflict. I'm so sick of trauma. I'm so sick of being vampirized. I'm so sick of giving to people that don't give back. We're just wanting, to return to something, and we might not be sure what it is because it's not really mirrored out there in reality, but we remember what it is. We know it feels good. We know something like this, somewhere over the rainbow, it does exist, and we want it. We're hungry for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's
yes,
the first
I agree with you. And if I'm allowed to just detour again, I'll tell you another story.
Oh, sure.
This is another true story.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to explain it is because it indicates what you've been talking about. It indicates how we are really together as one. And that is what we're really all about. Our identity is about that. 2001, Wimbledon. And there was a gentleman playing in the singles who had to be given a wild card because he wasn't playing well enough to get a direct entry into Wimbledon. But because he was a well-known person and a nice guy, people said, okay, we'll let you have a free pass into Wimbledon and you can play here, but you'll probably lose in the first round. And then you can go home and you can say your last match was at Wimbledon. His name was Goran Ivanisevic. He had been a great player, but he'd never won anything major. And he'd always wanted to win Wimbledon, and he'd never managed to do so. So in 2001, with not much practice and no hope, he turned up and he played and he won his first round. I'll cut the story short because against all the odds, he defeated 6 players to get to the final. And now his presence at Wimbledon had become a worldwide sporting story. The man against all odds, reputedly about to retire, who had never won Wimbledon, here he was in the final. And could he finally do it? Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that we all try to win in a face-to-face confrontation. And here he was playing his last match at Wimbledon, and the world was watching. Could he do it? And the upshot is that eventually, after many alarms and many difficulties and many challenges, he got to match point. And he was there serving to win Wimbledon. And this is the point I'm trying to make. 15,000 people in that whole auditorium wanted him to win. And it included the person that he was playing. Pat Rafter, the Australian, had wanted to win Wimbledon himself. But the immense love and connection that the whole of the auditorium, the whole of the audience, 15,000 people, and all the people watching on television, as Goran Ivanisevic lined up to serve for the final point to win the championship, even Pat Rafter wanted Goran to win. And when he won the championship, he won that point, and he sank to the floor and burst into tears. Everybody stood up and cheered, and there was not a single person in that auditorium, 15,000 people and watching worldwide on TV, who were not in love with Goran Ivanisevic because of what he achieved. Against all the odds, he came through to win. And really that is an analogy of all of us. We all want us together to win, together as one. And that's what happened in that moment, where everybody was in tears and watching the success of one angelic human against all the odds to come through. And all the people who are listening now, and to you, Elizabeth, I say, this is where we are. We are all together as one. We are pulling for each other because we know the odds that we have all faced individually and collectively. And today, here, now, this is what we are doing. We are sharing each other, holding hands, because against all the odds, together, we're going to win.
Yes, beautiful, very, very inspirational story. And I just want to add to that and kind of wind it up, because that's really what the Crystal River Failsafe host is about, I believe. I think, and for me, I check myself sometimes. Many of us, we don't even remember why we have phobias or fears, or why we feel like, we're not worthy, or we've been victimized, or, we're not going to find true love. We're not going to be able to make that money. We're not going to be successful. And it's because of our past, our hidden past. We have been, traumatized, MK Ultra mind control, traumatized to have those beliefs, those fears, those phobias, those, thoughts that cause us to fail, that self-sabotage. And I'm say unto you, no more. That has all shifted now because of the Crystal River failsafe host. We have had the cards stacked against us in the past with the whole Fibonacci, the death spiral, the death cult. They have been siphoning off our energy. They have had control. They have been running the show, literally. But that has all shifted, okay? And that shifted, we had E.M. Parks that talked about the timeline split on the November 8th show when it happened. And, the crystalline spiral is picking up steam, quantum, every day more and more, and it has your back. And anytime you make a move, anytime you make a decision, anytime you make a choice as your heroic self that is in alignment with that quantum crystallic energy consciousness, it is just carrying you. And even if it's a little seed that you're doing now, whether it's writing a book, or like I started a Patreon channel, or buying this, or moving there, it's a huge seed, because this year I believe is the year of laying the foundation. It's an 8th year of foundation, and it's just going to pick up everything you plant, everything you sow now is going to pick up this amazing quantum of infinite. No longer are we confined to the finite. Infinite source has your back.
Brilliant. I love that. You said some absolutely sensational phrases in there, and we need to replay that and print them, because they were great. and that's exactly what we're doing. And Elizabeth, it's always an inspiration to be with you, to share time with you, and to talk with you, and to hear what you say, and to understand where you've come from to be where you are now. It's an inspiration.
Ditto. I'll be very American. I was telling the Italians that Americans make acronyms of everything, and I don't understand them anymore when they talk, because in Italian we have very long words and we speak them out, but I'll just say ditto. So, David, let us, our listening audience and viewing, if you're seeing the video, tell us about how we can, reach out, how we can contact you, how we can support you in your vital work.
Well, I'm on Substack now, so I write quite a few articles on there on Substack, and I think you can contact me via David Emery on there. And if you have time to read what I write, I'd be very grateful, because I'm just sharing many of the things, like, for example, that Elizabeth has shared with me. So we're all sharing together. I'm on Facebook as well, and you can always contact me there. If you write to me there, I will get back to you and write back. Of course, whenever the book comes out, perhaps you might like to scan some of the pages.
Yes, that will be out, and you said this year,
This year. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And we'll just make an announcement that, well, it should be out everywhere. Like, it should be available in bookstores and Amazon and all different places. You should get a website so it can be downloaded there or whatever, and get your audio book. I want that. That sounds exciting. What's the name of that next book that's going to?
Well, at the moment, it's Journeys into the Eighth Dimension. That's what it's called at the moment. But that title may change, but that will come out, because that is actually already complete, apart from that 7th part.
I just love those kind of that kind of work, because it just sends your mind reeling, and actually causes me to remember those higher aspects of myself that are so important. I love that. So so thank you very much again. Thank you so much to everyone who's listened. We've reached a year now. We started a year ago on Columbus Day, and we started to question the true history of our planet, and see Columbus as not the hero he's been painted out to be, but more of he's a bastard, a rapist, a murderer, all kinds of terrible things. And we've reached 37,000 people, and I'm so grateful to you. And I really appreciate your support. Again, if you want to support me, the website's www.infinitehuman.com. You can buy books. I think I even have a coffee mug on there. I'm starting a Patreon channel, so I'm going to be able to help you, coach you for a lot less than doing private coachings, because I know a lot of you are going through some challenging times, and it's hard to find time to coach everyone, and it would be a lot easier to do it in a group where we can come together on conference calls and discuss things that are coming up, because I'm really focused on bringing these Krystic principles into your daily life to help you evolve physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and socially. And that was really the theme in The Pathway Home that it was predominantly Peter that wrote as a physician, and it's a guide to inner divine healing. And I know a lot of people are having those challenges today. So, we're with you. We're both here. We're both with you through this journey. It's an exciting time to be alive. Exciting heroic journey we're all on, and a new consciousness renaissance. And I certainly see you as a blossoming major player in this new consciousness renaissance.
Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. But I take inspiration from you and from many others, but particularly from you. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you for coming, and much love to you. And okay, we'll see you next time when we see you.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.